I, what I have been talking about recently is this thing about cultural capital. Maybe I should be more explicit about that. Um, as I said to you earlier, Mark, we were created as a people by slavery, as an ethnic version of the African diaspora, as African Americans. That hyphen that connects us it connotes a dual identity and a dueling identity. And because we have that dual, we've been unable to develop the kind of culture that gives us the foundation to be successful, to encourage behavioral traits that cultivate success. Examples, the Jewish community, basically wherever they go on the planet, they tend to be disproportionately successful because they have the kind of cultural capital that's enshrined with a religious belief and propagated with a religious belief that inculcates certain behavioral traits that are conducive to success wherever they go. That is the same with what you would call overseas Chinese. They tend to be disproportionately successful. They have a behavioral code that's been honed by centuries of positive interaction with other people. So that culture is honed to a point where they have behavioral traits that encourage success. Other cultures, there are other examples all over the planet, and it's something that humans do when they have an opportunity, when they are unencumbered, and when they are unoppressed. They tend to accumulate this kind of cultural capital. Often they are prevented from doing it by other kinds of factors, but generally that's what humans do. Black people in this country, African Americans, were prevented from doing that because our culture had to deal with the orthodoxies of white supremacy. We never had the opportunity to develop our own coherent culture because we were prevented from doing that. As enslaved Africans, we were prevented from cohering with people from our own tribal groups, our own language groups. We were prevented from speaking our own languages, from communicating with each other, also from learning the oppressor's language. We were kept in a state of inertness because we inert folk make better slaves. And so we never had the opportunity to develop the kind of self-sustaining culture that can accumulate cultural capital. We had to be concerned with deflecting white supremacy. So that accounts for, just as we were prevented from accumulating economic capital, and that accounts for our relative impoverishedness, we were prevented from accumulating cultural capital, which I think is a much more grievous degradation than the economic capital. Because with cultural capital, we could create whatever we needed. We see what happened in Rosewood, for example, when we had just a sliver of opportunity in Tulsa. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, and also in Rosewood, Florida. But there are many other communities around the country where you see episodes of African Americans who were inordinately successful because we were unencumbered. We had the ability to accumulate that kind of cultural capital. That's what we need. And without that ability, I think we'll continue to be scattered and ineffective, and we will lack viability as a community. The way that we develop this cultural capital, however, is another problem that we have to deal with, and that is, I think, a Marshall Plan from the government, the only entity capable of marshaling the kind of resources necessary to do the job, to enculturate a people who have been systematically degraded over centuries. It's a serious job. The sooner we do it, the better it can be done, And it's not so much African Americans, it's this entire society that stands to benefit, and it is this entire society that stands to suffer if it is not done. How long can we tolerate a society that reproduces its own dead weight? We can't do that. So I believe that cultural capital can be accumulated with a compensatory program, business development assistance, educational assistance, housing assistance. All of these subsidies, I think, are necessary to develop the kind of cultural strength and solidity, not so much solidarity, but cultural solidity that will enable us to move into a more productive direction. And it's not asking or begging the white man. We've earned this. And there are people who have done reams of research detailing the actual cost of enslaving people for centuries, for no wages. Trillions of dollars we are owed, legitimately unearned income, labor that has been, income that's been diverted from people systematically to another people. We inherited poverty, they inherited our compounded wealth. The entire West was developed on the backs of the enslaved Africans and others, but primarily enslaved Africans. And so to deny that historical debt is to continuously be in a sense of high denial. And until that is acknowledged, that debt is acknowledged, I'm afraid American society will continue to limp along crippled, not capitalizing on its amazing wealth that could be much more efficiently exploited. Thank you.